Hey everybody, welcome to Linux Cast. I'm your host, Matt.
And I'm Drew.
Welcome to the Linux Cast. We are flying just as a duo tonight. Nate is feeling a little under the weather, so feel better, Nate. But we're going to carry on without him. We have a fantastic topic for you tonight, even if it is Nate's topic. So we'll just pretend we have like a million monitors behind us and, carry on that way. But before we jump in, we're gonna revisit something that we used to do all the time and just ask what you've been up to this week. Drew, you been doing anything exciting?
I have. Well, at the end of last podcast, I mentioned that I would be moving a lot of my stuff over to Codeberg, and I've definitely had, and I had the option to do that this week, and I was able to do 2 of my projects. And to your point, Matt, I was able to make sure that they were still syncing. So, whenever I make a change to the Codeberg database, to the project, it actually gets mirrored to GitHub still. So overall, that was harder than I thought it was going to be.
So I switched from GitHub to GitLab years ago at this point.
Right.
Now. I didn't do the mirroring thing. I looked at the instructions on how to do it. I was like, fuck that shit. I ain't doing that. So I still have a GitHub account with some really old stuff. And every once in a while, someone will ask me, are you ever going to update this thing or that thing? I was like, not there. I'm not and I do still have, because a lot of people are still on GitHub. So I still have the account, and every once in a while I'll find something that I want. So I'll fork it just in case. So I have the code or whatever. And I've thought about Codeberg and I've tried to self-host Gatia for 5 seconds, and that was beyond me.
No, I got that working. It's just, we've talked about this before. Do you really want the responsibility of hosting your own Git locally? No, I don't. I'd rather have somebody else that's more redundant do that for me. So
I think I would be okay with for I have that gigantic wallpapers folder that I've tried to host on Nextcloud a couple times.
Yeah.
For something like that, I think it'd be fine, because if that ever goes down, who the hell cares? Where for other stuff, I would really not want to do that. You're right. I don't know. I tried the Picapod thing, because Picapod has has Gatia set up, so you just click a button and it sets it up for you, and then you just go to the website to plug in your credentials or whatever, and it works. But it doesn't really come with a whole bunch of storage. So what's the purpose of it? I can store some things there, but I'm eventually going to hit up against a storage thing, and I don't want to pay $10 or $15 a month for a Git service when I can just use GitLab for free for the most part. Yeah. So I don't know. The idea of it's always attractive to look at something else, but I think I'm just going to stick with GitLab. They normally don't piss me off too much, but did you know, Drew, that if you wanted to host something that's big on GitLab, their storage is atrocious? It's if you want an extra 10 gigabytes just an extra 10 gigabytes, they charge you $60 a year. That's just bonkers for storage.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that. I know, again, they're both GitHub and GitLab are corporate driven Gits. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they're looking to to maximize revenue. So yeah.
It just seems $6 a year. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
$60 a year for 10 gigabytes, $60 a year for a terabyte, maybe. You know.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's
that's
bonkers.
Crazy.
Yep. All right. So for me, I might as well talk about the sync thing. I'm going to use it for a Nuggie of the week later on. But honestly, this whole internet thing was the first negative thing I have to say about it. So I had my note-taking setup. I've been trying to stay stable on my note-taking setup for a while, because I was switching back and forth between a lot of stuff. So I'm using Obsidian on my main PC, and I'm using something called QuillPad on my Android. Fantastic applications, and I was using Nextcloud to sync between them. Nextcloud is, I'm just going to put it out there, it's garbage. It's not any good.
Yeah, I have to admit that we've done whole podcasts on GitHub. I'm sorry, GitHub, on Nextcloud, and we were singing the praises of them. But I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm in agreement with you. I don't use it anymore because I don't think it's that great, and I can use other file storages elsewhere.
Yeah. Like, just for example, today, I still have my Nextcloud server up and running, and I wasn't going to use it for notes anymore, and I wasn't really going to use it personally. But my mom likes to transfer stuff from her phone when she takes a picture to her laptop, and the easiest way to do that is some kind of service. We were using pCloud for a while, but we were on the free plan, and didn't really want to pay the horrendous amount of money to upgrade to a plan. So when I went to the Nextcloud thing, we were using that, and that worked okay for a little while, and then today, because my home server went down when I upgraded to Proxmox and I had to restart everything, I had to set up her a new account with Nextcloud. And immediately I tried to get that thing set up, got the account all set up, and I tried to sign in on her phone. It says too many requests to sign in. Like, dude, I haven't signed in at all. So I spent like 3 hours trying to figure out how to get that to go away and clear whatever it was that was blocking it. I ended up not getting it working at all and ended up having to send it to my phone, then send it to Facebook Messenger of all things in order to get the pictures onto her device.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just like, I always tried to blame like the Nextcloud desktop, like application, because it's just not good. But it's not just that. It's like every time I try to do something, there's just like these little piddly errors. And then just to go back to the notes thing, I was using it to sync these notes. And one morning I woke up and I was keeping like a to-do list for the day in there. So I had to go to Obsidian, open it up. And all of a sudden, all of the notes I've been taking for the last months were no longer in the directories where I stored them. They escaped those directories and were just everywhere. Like, it was crazy. So I was like, the fuck is going on here? Because I got like 4,000 notes. I managed to like do because I have like a backup, so I was able to back up to like the previous state and get everything right where it was. Went about my day, came back a few hours later, and it happened again. And I was like, this is not going to happen. I can't handle this. I had already pared down my Nextcloud usage because I was kept getting errors and like your files are too big, or it's not, it has a period in it and it's not supposed to have a period in it or something like that. And like, I can't do that. This was just like the final straw. So I set up sync thing on this PC, on my phone, on my home lab, and I have them syncing the notes folder between the three of them. It's, other than this internet thing that's caused it today, which is weird, has been perfect. It's like fantastic. I make a note, it appears in all three places instantaneously, no errors. I use the opportunity to make it so that on my phone I just sync to a mobile notes directory. That way it doesn't kind of like intermingle with all my other notes that are more long form. So that was nice. So that's been working really well. So, and it was, I won't say that it was easy to set up, but it also wasn't really all that hard.
So okay. Let me back up for a second. Where is QuillPad getting the files from?
Well, okay, so there's a directory on my local storage on my phone called Mobile Notes.
Okay.
And that is connected to SyncThing, which has it just kind of goes all the way around in the circle on each device, and QuillPad connects to that directory.
Oh, but you have to be in the house for that to work?
No.
Okay.
It's basically like there's a directory on all three devices, and what SyncThing does is just keeps them in sync. So it's stored in all three places. So if I wanted to edit it for whatever reason on my home lab, I could go make an edit on my notes on my home lab, and it would sync it to the other two devices instantaneously. It's just copies of on all three, and that works as a backup too. So I use Borg to back up my home lab and my regular. So it's kind of caught in things. I'm never going to lose notes again. Like I said, the internet thing is like the first like downside to it. And I'll figure that out because I'm not giving. It's weird because it didn't do it until like we were talking well before we started live streaming. So something was going on there. Maybe there was just like something transferring or something. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've been messing around with notes. For those of you who know me, I mess around with notes a lot. I don't know if you guys know this about me. I like notes a lot. So there you go. Just a tad. I have a whole notebook full of notes, even physical notes. I'm under those. Okay, so we're going to move on to our main topic. Now, this was originally Nate's choice, so it's unfortunate that he's not here because he'd be able to talk about the hardware stuff a little bit better than either Drew or I. But we're going to carry on nonetheless and try to go through this. Now, what I have, Drew, is a whole bunch of versus questions. So, for example, desktop versus laptop, things like that. Okay. So we'll go through some of those. But before we jump in, let's just talk about the setup that we're using now. So, Drew, what is your current hardware, software setup that you're using right now?
So I have a Minis Forum 890 M890 Pro. It's a little mini PC, but it has a very robust AMD CPU, and it has a 780M integrated graphics card. And I have a 34-inch ultra-wide monitor attached to that. If we get to start talking about keyboards and mice, we might be here all day, Matt. So I will not talk about that, because I know that if I get you started, it could be a long podcast.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So anyway, that's the main thing. I have, and that's pretty much it. So I have my ultra wide monitor 1, and my mini PC, which is, I think, a beast, frankly. It only has 64 gig of RAM, but that's really all that's necessary. And like I said, it kicks butt. So obviously I'm on Debian as far as software is concerned. And then I use DWM. So I have a tiling window manager that I use. A lot of this stuff that we're going to talk about is going to be about productivity, to me at least, because how you get your stuff done is how you kind of get to that perfect setup. And what you need out of that perfect setup is usually something that helps you accomplish something, whether it be gaming, or if you're not a gamer, or if you're a coder, or if you are somebody like me that kind of like can't game, doesn't necessarily code, but likes to get his work done. And then I have my moments where I can like do bash scripting and stuff like that.
If there was a game that was bash scripting, would you play that?
Yeah, I think I might.
Okay, so I'm sure that has to exist. Like someone out there has created a bash scripting.
That would be fun.
Okay, first off, nerd. That's fine. I too would play. I wouldn't be very good at it though. I'd have to probably go ask Claude how to play.
Oh,
all right.
That would be helpful.
Funny thing is, I'd probably still lose. All right. So my current setup is way over the top for what I actually need. I would probably be just fine with the setup you have, your one monitor. But I'm kind of like Nate in that more monitors is better than no monitors at all, I guess. So I have 4 monitors. I have a LG Dual Up, which is like a really tall, very odd aspect ratio monitor, and it has 2 modes. You can either use it as one really big monitor, or you can hook up 2 inputs to it, and it will, or outputs or whatever, and you get it functions as 2 21-inch monitors. And then I have a 32-inch monitor, curved monitor here in front of me. It's made by Scepter. Pro tip: never buy a Scepter ever. Just don't do it. It's horrible. Like it works, but the colors in it are just astonishingly bad. I'm gonna use it until it dies, but it's bad. Also, all these, by the way, are 1080p. I still can't see anything better than that. And then I have a 27-inch HP monitor over here that is approximately 15 years old. Still works fantastically well. That thing's never going to die. And if it does die, I have another one in the bedroom that I can replace it with. So that's my monitor setup. I have a custom-built PC that I built in 2020. You know when they were sending all the checks out or whatever during COVID or whatever? Yep. I took my check and built a PC with it. It has a Ryzen 3800X and it's 64 gigabytes of RAM and a AMD 6750 XT, Radeon 6750 XT, something like that. I think that's what it is. And the memory is Chinese. I should put that out there because everybody's like, man, you and your Chinese memory, that's why you always have computer problems. I bought the cheapest memory ever. Like it's like off Alibaba or something. Probably not a good idea. I do have a 4070 Ti NVIDIA card that's sitting up here collecting dust. So if I ever decide I want to try to NVIDIA stuff again, I have it. Other than that, the prize of my collection is my desk. So I have an L-shaped desk. You guys can see, usually you could probably see part of it over here, and then, oh, good Lord, Matt, just knocking shit all over. And then it kind of goes off onto this side here. And it's awesome. It's a standing desk, so it goes up, it goes down, and it's just the best thing ever. Before, I had this like cramped, like 20-year-old oak, like weighed 1,000 pounds, came from like Furniture Express back in the 90s kind of thing. And it was horrible. It was really small, and I had all like 3 monitors on the thing, but I really wanted more space. So that my favorite part about my entire setup is the desk. Oh, also I have a Mac. There's a Mac here. So sorry. So that's my that's my hardware setup. The Mac and the PC are hooked up via a KVM switch too, by the way, so I can hit a button and switch back and forth between them. I only use the Mac for editing. That's really all I'd use it for. So that's my hardware setup. In terms of software, I'm running NixOS. I'm on a 2-year challenge. I'll be running this for basically the next 2 years because I think I'm 68, 69 days in or something like that. So I got a long way to go. And I'm using Hyperland as my window manager. And it's been astonishingly stable. Like it used to be, like you use Hyperland and it's just like, wow, there's an update, it broke everything. That hasn't happened. He does make some changes that kind of like break some things every once in a while, but usually you get heads up, like he changed the syntax in the thing or whatever. Drew, you know how like when you use Qtile or whatever, once in a while they'll push down a update that breaks a widget in the bar?
I do know that, but I don't usually update. Once it gets like solid, I usually don't update anything. I think we could talk about Qtile ad nauseum for Debian, but I will refrain from doing so because it's twitchy. Regardless, though, I am curious because you have so many monitors attached to your main PC and you are on a window manager like Hyperland. Do you have the need even for multiple workspaces or no?
So yeah, I still use a lot of workspaces. Like right now I have probably 7 of them in use. And see, what I said to begin with, when I said I could probably function with a single monitor,
yeah,
I could do that because really the monitor that's in front of me, the Scepter, the 32-inch, is the one that I use. So when I want something that's in focus that I'm going to be staring at and working at, like I'm doing editing for work, or I'm doing a bash script or whatever, it's always on the center monitor. And if I'm in a need where I have to have 2 things side to side, I put it on this 27-inch monitor over here because it's closer to me. I can see it. The LG Dual Up is like a staging monitor. Like right now I have Audacity, I have Discord on there. I can read those things if I move the microphone and get really close to them. You know what I mean? Like I can, even with my glasses on, I have a hard time reading over there, and it could go away and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. So my workflow is really a 2-monitor workflow with this thing over here just for having stuff on there. So usually when I'm not recording something, I have like the tick the
okay.
to-do's thing up there, and then I'll have Discord or whatever, just something that I'm not going to interact with, that can just sit there and not be interacted with. So eventually probably what I'll do is get something like yours where it's like a wider monitor. Maybe I'll have a second monitor that's like vertical or something like that, but
yep,
I don't know that would do it.
That I think is an idea that I might want to look at as well. I like having the ultra wide monitor because I can have, with, master and stack, I've got usually quite a bit of stuff going on, even on one workspace, or tag is what I should say as a DWM user. But I also, I use 12 tags for DWM. And right now I'm just using 4. So, but I always have like a dedicated kind of tag for specific things. For example, like tag 1 is usually for research, which generally is my browser. And see, to me, we're going to talk about the perfect setup. I don't know that the browser is like, I know for you, it might be. I'm using Firefox. I don't know that I would have to have it in order to actually maintain a perfect setup. But I need a browser, obviously. So you got to have a browser for my perfect setup. and I'm using Firefox, I don't know that I can say it's perfect. But, Workspace 1 or Tag 1, I should say, is for that. And then like I have Discord on Tag 8 and I have Genie on Tag 3 and so on and so forth. So I have dedicated tags for specific tasks, which makes it, to me, makes it more, perfect, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because I don't have to really like look for anything. Whereas when I was on a different kind of like workflow, I would have everything kind of like on like your one space. And then I would have to either cycle through somehow. So anyway, to me, the perfect setup has to have a tiling window manager with multiple tags or workspaces.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Every once in a while, I will have a desktop environment envy. You know what I mean? I'll see a cool, like actually today, for example, I was on YouTube just randomly on a break, and I saw someone show off their GNOME rice, and it looked amazing, like so cool. And like, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to try GNOME again. Every once in a while, that'll happen. I'll go install GNOME. Usually it ends up with me just completely ruining my install of whatever I'm using, because you're not really supposed to switch for all that much, but I do. But I always come back to a tiling window manager, whether it's Hyperland or Qtile or something like that. My preference for the tiling window manager is one that works well with multiple monitors. DWM just doesn't really work well with all multiple monitors because of the way that it does tags. It has a set. So like if you had multiple monitors, Drew, you would have 12 tags on each of your monitors, and that's just too much to think. The way Hyperland has it set up, if you want, you can do it either way, but you can set it up so that, say for example, so right now I'm on workspace 1 on my main monitor. I have the big screen that I'm recording there, and if I want to switch to workspace 2, I could actually bring workspace 2 to this main monitor, and they just kind of switch places. You can kind of do that with DWM with a couple patches and stuff like that, but it's never quite as smooth as when it's kind of built in. Qtile does that. Xmonad does that, where you can just kind of move it's like a floating, like I have a total of 12 workspaces. Any one of those 12 can be on any of the monitors that I want it to be. And I just focus on that monitor, change to the workspace, and it appears there, right? And that's my perfect thing, is like, I'm like you, everything has its place. So like OBS is always on workspace 6. Discord, always on workspace 9. I have Ranger, which is my primary file manager right now. That's on workspace 8. The browser's always on 1. And then 2 is always the to-do list application, that, whatever I'm using at the time. So when I'm on one of those like desktop environment envy kind of things, the thing that always drives me back is the fact that the windows just pile on top of each other. Yeah. And I know people swear by Alt-Tab, but I just can't get into the Alt-Tab flow.
It's okay. It's not ideal, at least for my workflow either. I mean, by the way, I looked at your video on Anduin recently, this past week, in fact, and I thought that's a nice looking setup. I mean, if you're looking at the actual desktop environment, I thought that's a nice looking setup. I mean, it looks like Windows, but overall, I was just like, yeah, I could do that. I mean, would I want to? No, not necessarily, because I am, like I said, stuck in my DWM workflow. Now, the thing that I have to say about DWM recently, and we talked a little bit about this last week, it's gone from 6.5 to 6.6, and I actually repatched the entire thing at 6.6, and I curated my patches accordingly. I actually removed a couple and added a couple, but I'm always at like 17 patches for DWM. But what I get out of it is exactly what I want, exactly, without a whole lot of like extra features I don't need. But if I wanted the features, I can always add them back. But the truth of the matter is, we're talking about a perfect setup. And to me, my perfect setup almost has to have DWM, because it is exactly what I patch, is exactly what I want.
So I want to talk about DWM for a second. Do you find it really weird that they were on 6.1 for like, I don't know, 10 years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the last year, they've jumped up like 6 different versions. It's like one of their developers like they were away from the project for a little while and then realized that DWM is still there and decided to come back and start developing on it again. It feels weird like after so long of basic. I mean, it wasn't an abandoned project. They never changed the version of it number, and then all of a sudden, like 6.2, one line changed. That's all it changed, right? It was just the version number. And then all of a sudden, like, wow, every 3 months we get ourselves a new DWM version.
Yeah. It's been longer this time around, but overall, I agree with you. There is sometimes such a small or minor change to the code base that it doesn't necessarily warrant an entire like dot upgrade. But what are you going to do? When I'm looking at it, I was like, okay, well, if there's any change at all to the code base, I'm going to just repatch it. And I'm going to actually go through and go, yep, I want that one and that one and that one. And that is it. And I try not to have like a whole lot of like extraneous patches installed with it. So yeah, I actually had to redo my entire README for that project, which is, I don't want to say popular, but for me, I guess it's kind of fairly popular in that a lot of people have either forked my DWM setup or starred it on GitHub. I guess it's like, I don't know, 18, 20, 25, I don't know, somewhere in that area there. But, I wanted to make sure that it was kind of like current, I guess is my point.
Makes sense. Have you ever tried FlexiPatch?
Yes. And the reason why I'm going to like, this is a very unpopular, I think it is an amazing project. Okay. I just wouldn't use it for me because I think it adds a lot of extraneous code to the base. Even after you take out like that, there's that one that just kind of strips out everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's still going to be like stuff left over that is not necessary to the code. So yes. And in fact, 1 out of the 17 patches is a Backabee patch that you can't get on the DWM website. So you can look at all the patches at DWM. Backabee, the creator of DWM FlexiPatch, has his own patches that he's created. So I go over there and take a look at what he's doing sometimes, and there's one that I like cherry picked off of his out of his patches. So yeah.
I've tried it a few times and never really stuck with it because for me, the fun of it is patching.
It's true.
That's the fun part.
If you're nerdy enough.
Every time I say that, like, I patch DWM for fun. Like, I don't use DWM. I because of the monitor situation, I won't use it. But I patch it for fun. Every once in a while, I'll just go in there and see how many patches I can get, My record, by the way, is still 28. I haven't managed past that.
And then at 29, what happens? It just doesn't compile.
Well, it's not that it won't compile. It's just that you have, so when like a patch fails to patch in, you get those failed hunks, right? And usually by the time you get to that, every single one you patch in, it has more and more hunks that fail just because the line numbers have stopped lining up completely. And also some of them have, so like say patch 13 changed one line of C code to something else. Sometimes a patch you patch in later on changes that exact same line, so it breaks a patch that you patched in earlier because it's looking for that. So there's only especially bar patches are the worst at that. Like they're all basically trying to change the same 100 lines of code, and they don't really work all that well together. So. And my dumbass, I want to do as many as possible. So like I'm doing status 2D, I'm doing the colors patch, I've got alpha patch in there, I got the awesome bar patch in there, so I have the titles, I got an icon patch, so I get icons in there, I want the boxes to go away, and I like you do all this stuff, and all of a sudden, wow, DWM's not actually working anymore. You know what I mean? So yeah, that I do that for fun, and like everybody looks at me like, Matt, you're such a nerd. Okay. Let's do some of these versus questions then, okay. Drew. So it's not going to be as fun without Nate because he's going to have different things because you and I both are very similar in our works. We're both using desktop. So this first one here, desktop versus laptop.
Yeah.
Desktop.
You know the answer.
like I have a laptop here. It collects dust because I don't use it very often. Yeah. So do you have a...
There's just not a need. I just don't have a need. I don't really go... If I was more of a traveling kind of guy, I would probably need the laptop, but I don't. So I sit here and I have computers around me, but none of them are laptops. In fact, all of them are desktops, whether it be a large, a large case, or even I've got 3 minis within 20 feet of me.
I have aspirations to be a traveling kind of guy who needs a laptop and stuff, but I don't think that it's ever really going to happen. Because even like if I went out to a coffee shop or a bookstore or whatever, which I do from time to time, I don't. I'm going to take a book with me. I don't go to those places to do anything on the computer. And if I did, I'd just take I have an iPad mini here, I'd take this or something like that. It's much more.
I'm so afraid of of being on public Wi-Fi as well. That's another part of it,
Yeah. I just attach to my hotspot on the phone or whatever, but still, yeah. And my luck is I'd get like catfished or something while at Starbucks. Okay, so I asked that question to Nate, by the way, and he said yes.
I know.
So, okay, so here's a question for us then: speakers attached to your computer, or no speakers attached to your computer? And when I say speakers, I mean like actual speakers, not headphones.
Yeah, actually, I have 2 satellite, and I have a woofer or a subwoofer. Yeah, I like a nice sound coming out of my PC. So no, I don't use like any integrated or the monitor. A lot of monitors have speakers built in them. No, I actually have like a couple $100 in speakers around me.
Okay, so when I redid my desk, I bought a pair of Edifier, I think is the name, is the brand name, and they're really nice. They're like fake walnut, and they sounded fantastic. But they took up so much room on my desk, I've taken them off. And because I found out I just never really use them. I just always have the headphones on. So I just have headphones. And I think I prefer that simply because I can play things as loud as I want. If I want to ruin my own ears, that's fine. I don't have to worry about 3 o'clock in the morning blasting System of a Down and people turn that down, man. So yeah, headphones definitely for me, and no speakers. I like the idea of speakers, I just never use them. So there's that. Okay, so here's another one, and I have a feeling I know the answer to this question too. But old or new hardware? So do you always buy brand new, or are you more of a go on eBay, see if you can kind of get a deal kind of thing?
I get new stuff usually. Like I said, I'm in this mode where I bought 4 of these 890M Pros, and they're awesome. They really are. In fact, and I looked at what they were selling. This is Minis Forum, by the way. I looked at the Minis Forum website, and they have like this this thing where you can sign up for this AI system that they're putting out fairly soon, and you can get it for $200 off if you sign up for it now. And I'm like, oof.
Drew's gonna get one of those.
I'm not because I don't need it, but at the same time, yeah. To answer your question, I generally either I build it. That's another thing that I've done several times actually, is build and like cherry pick all the components and then bring it in, but they're all new. Or actually that's not necessarily true. I have bought like a used video card before. But overall, I would say, yeah, new.
Drew has an obsession with mini PCs like I have an obsession with keyboards.
Maybe so. That could be true.
All right. So for me, I do buy some new things. So certain things I want new. So for example, like a monitor, if I need it, when the day the scepter dies, which will be a day that I party, I will buy a new monitor. I don't trust buying like a used monitor online because I know I'm gonna get dead pixels or something like that. And how do you ship a monitor from like Drew? Let's say I wanted to buy a monitor from you. How would you even go about shipping it and guarantee? Right? It's like I have no clue. The people who make monitors know how to ship monitors. I'm just gonna buy it from them. And if it comes with dead pixels, I can say, hey, ship me a new one, so for certain things like that. Keyboards I won't buy used just because I want to. You think that I would buy used ones, but no, I want new
Yeah.
new keyboards.
You wouldn't want somebody's grubby mitts on
No,
your
no, no, no.
keyboard.
This is these are mine.
Yeah.
How all the oils and stuff. Thing is really bad. But a lot of other stuff like I'll buy used. So like a laptop usually like this here was bought new, but that's only because I needed it like right that day because my mom needed a laptop for while hers was in the shop. But normally I buy laptops used. Normally I buy like phones used. I would be perfectly happy buying like used memory and actually the hard drive that I bought I got from server part deals and that's been refurbished and
Yeah.
manufacturer recertified. So I never buy brand new hard drives. I bought like I got a deal on like 6 2 terabyte NVMe drives for like $150 or something like that
All right.
on eBay. No clue what brand they are. They
Yeah.
don't have brands on them. Like it doesn't really matter. I'm not gonna use them for anything mission critical, but I'm happy to buy those things because it just saves me a little bit of money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of a mix, I guess. If there's some things I'll buy and have to buy new, I do envy sometimes those people who are like ThinkPad bros. You know, like they have like a stack of ThinkPads.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's like a sign of official nerddom. You
Yeah,
know
no,
what I
I
mean?
mean Tyler had that that
Yeah.
long period. I don't know if it's a long period, but he was all about the ThinkPad. He was just crazy ThinkPad guy.
The amount of like modding and stuff that you can go through, like that kind of appeals to me. But I don't. Oh, another thing that I bought use actually is if you go on eBay. Speaking of mini PCs, so IBM or Lenovo, I think it's Lenovo now, have these little Think Center PCs. They're like
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. If you go on eBay, you can get packs of them for like
Yeah.
$300, right? So I got 5 of them for like $300, and I use one of them as a file server. I'm gonna use another one of them as for like a Pi-hole thing, you know. So yeah, I bought those used. That was I thought that was a great buy. And every time I go on eBay, like there's like a pack of 6 of them. What am I gonna do with them? I don't know. I should just get them because they seem like such a good deal.
I'm with you on the monitor thing though. Like the last couple monitors, to your point also, the 34-inch monitor that I had that died was a Scepter, and I didn't like it very much anyway. But I sent Nate like I don't know half a dozen, and he's like, get that one over there. It's at Best Buy, and I'm like, okay, well that's good enough. So I truck my ass over to Best Buy and get it. And that way, if if I have to return it, well, also Costco too. You can return almost anything at Costco. That's another thing I would consider because you can return like anything up to a year. Up to a year.
And you can just show your buy rewards program.
Yep.
Okay, so my next one is, and this is literally for Nate, but multi-monitor or single monitor. Yeah.
I mean, I've already kind of said I'm
Yeah.
a single monitor. I mean, again, I actually over to my right, I set up a kind of system that I wanted my wife to kind of look at, and one of those monitors is vertical, and because I wanted to actually, and then I went over there and I was looking at code in a vertical monitor on whether it be on NeoVim or on Genie. And I thought, man, that's pretty nice when you can like use a vertical monitor and see that much code in one shot. I was like, I might actually incorporate that at some point. So yeah.
So this LG Dual, I've thought about turning it from the 2 to just the 1 because that would function as one giant vertical monitor. I don't know how well it would work in a window manager though, is what stopped me from doing it. Just because it's so huge. Because you couldn't right now I have them set as 1080p because my eyesight and shit. If I use it in the single mode, the text would be so small. I don't know if I'd ever be able to see it or not. Because the aspect ratio is so weird, you'd have to use it as the native resolution.
Yeah.
Because nothing else kind of fits in there. And like black bars all over the place. So for me, multiple monitors is still there, but I think I'd be okay with a single monitor. All right, trackball versus regular mouse, Drew.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do a trackball. I have tried. In fact, there was this one guy that I was helping out. He was an architect, and he was like all about the trackball. And I'm like, dude, I can't use this. And because I was sitting there at his workstation and I was trying to help him accomplish something. And I don't remember what it was, but I was like, I actually have to bring my own mouse in because I couldn't use the trackball at all.
So I am a big trackball guy.
I know you are.
I use
Yeah.
the Elecom Huge. By the way, I did a mod on this thing the other day. I put these little I don't know if you guys can actually see this, but I have these little like dots on it. I was having this hardest time because it kept sliding all over the place. And I got something around here, something like that came with this little sheet of these little like non-skid sticker things. I put them on there. It doesn't move anymore. It's brilliant. I actually bought this past week another like a Logitech trackball here. I was gonna go with this because I was so sick of the huge moving around on me. But then I just put those stickers on there and like I don't need this anymore. I'll use it on a laptop or something like that. But yeah, for me, trackball all the way. I do have an MX Master here for when I need a regular mouse, but I very, very, very rarely use it. A trackball is just where it's at. Like once that first week after I switched was hard. I was inaccurate. I was not, the mouse pointer was never where I needed it to be. It felt like it took like 12 years to get from one edge of the screen to the next edge of the screen. But once you get used to it, it's just really hard to go back to a regular mouse. So
yeah.
Also the scroll wheel on the side, it's just like brilliant. It's so good. So yeah, trackball for me, but I understand that it's not for everybody.
Yeah, just for anybody keeping score at home, I have a Keychron M7 is my mouse of choice right now.
I'm a keyboard guy. I still had no clue
Keychron?
that Keychron made mice. No clue. Mike in the chat asks, how do you place it between the split keyboard? No, it's always on the side. The split the spot between my split keyboard is always for my phone and my field notes. That's what sits in between. And I do have a Apple trackpad that sits up there that I use when I do the editing for the videos, but that's up out of the way. But yeah, it's always on the side. Having your mouse in between the two halves of your keyboard, just, I don't know, it feels too weird to me. I'm always used to having it on the right-hand side, so yeah. All right, so Truth, this one here, we're going to fight over a little bit, I have a feeling. So rolling release versus stable release.
Yeah, I'm stable. I'm a stable. I mean, I was gonna try and like front and say something like pithy or funny or something like. No, I can't. It's just stability to me is paramount for my workflow. I don't want to sit there. I don't want to update shit. I just want to get my stuff done. And it's really cool when I have this kind of something to look forward to. When Debian 12 became Debian 13 stable, I was like super excited about that. And I'm good. I'm good for the next couple of years. And I don't necessarily feel like, cause there are minor updates and stuff like that, but no, I have no desire to be on a rolling release.
You don't have any FOMO about, things that you can't get, like Hyperland, for example?
No. I mean, like I said, if I was maybe on a different monitor setup, like you were talking about, Matt, maybe I would want something different. But right now, I'm really stinking happy with what I have in terms of like productivity. Because there's a lot of things that you could say about our setup, but I think you and I both come into this like no manual organization type paradigm. When I'm saying manual, I mean, it's already like built into the rules dynamically. I want this on that space. I want this on that workspace, and being able to just kind of like Super 1, Super 3, Super 8, and being able to switch between those kind of like applications so seamlessly, it makes everything just like sing. So no, I mean, like I said before, I have no desire to like change what I'm doing. But I will say, I mean, there are times where I get like desktop environment envy, like you were talking about before, and I'm like, oh man, that Hyperland looks really good. Or that, Neri kind of looks interesting to me because of it's a different kind of paradigm when you're talking about tiling or kind of like a scrolling window manager almost, So yeah, it's interesting, but no.
Neri is it's so close to being something that I could use like every day because it does infinite workspaces. You know what I mean? So like you can have as many workspaces as you want on every single one. And it just kind of like if I wanted a whole bunch of things on one workspace, it just kind of scrolls back and forth, but it's missing scratch pads. And The developer, from what I've seen, doesn't seem all that interested in or thinking that it's necessary to have. Now it's still early days. Maybe someday they'll change their mind. But as of right now, they don't have it, and that's like a deal breaker for me because there's some things that I don't want on a workspace. I don't need my music player on a workspace taking up space.
Okay.
Like I like it in the background. I like it to be there all the time, but I don't need to see it. I have pulse mixer in a scratch pad.
Yep.
I don't need that very often, but I like that it's there. I also have an instance of Ranger that kind of lives in there. I use that as a wallpaper switcher. It just always lives in the wallpaper directory, and I can switch to a wallpaper, and Pieball or whatever will carry on and do all my switching for me. But I don't need to see that all the time. I have a couple of extraneous terminals that are scratch pads. Something that I'm gonna have running in the background doesn't need to be taking up a workspace. It just can be there or whatever, and it's fine.
So on your Hyperland, how many actual scratch pads do you have defined?
Oh, so I see I have two regular terminals, both attached to the letter N, but with a shift modifier for one of them. I have a pulse mixer. I have Ranger. I have NC Spot. I have a clipboard thing that I use. I think I have one, two, three, four, five. I have six, seven of. I have seven of them. Seven.
Okay.
Um,
And you're using all of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Pulse Mixer's probably the one that I use the least, just because I only ever really look at it when I need to change an output. Like for whatever reason, I get into a Jitsi call and it's not picking up the right source or whatever. I'll get in there and change it. But so that's probably the one that I use the least. But it's still nice to have there, and if it were gone, I would miss it. But again, it's not something that I want to have to go open up Rofi, search for Pulse, whatever, or open up another terminal and type it in. I just like having key binding for it, and it works really well in a scratch pad. Neri doesn't have scratch pads, so that's the reason why I can't use it. I have it installed, and when I use it for like, I don't know, a couple hours, and it's great. I guess it's really well polished. The paradigm of the scrolling windows it's really cool. I mean, really, really cool. But no scratch pad was like an instantaneous, like I can't use it kind of thing. All right, so the next one I have is another one that I don't think we'll disagree on this because I think we'll probably mostly agree. Native packages versus container packages.
Yeah, well, I'm a native package guy. I mean, to the point where I've actually, I've written a lot of scripts that will install from a source. So yeah, I don't have, and I know everyone's going to be in the chat going, "What the shit?" I have 0 flat packs, 0.
It's very impressive because like there's some things like the OBS that I have to have the flat pack version of, just because the packages that reside for OBS in the repositories of the distros that I use are almost always trash. Like either they're way far behind or they've been compiled weirdly with different flags. Like Arch does this for some stupid reason. So the flat pack for the OBS is unnecessary. But my answer to the question is mostly I don't care. There are some things that I install via Flatpak just because that's the only place that I get, like the tick or whatever that I use for my to do application. You can't get that in a binary, as far as I know. I mean, maybe NixOS has it because NixOS seems to have more things than I expect it to have. It's available with FlatHub, so I've
been tempted though, because I remember recommending to you by way of Nick from the Linux experiment IOTIS as an application that I never used because it was a flat pack only type of install. So I was just like, can I try? Can I get it natively? Can I get the source? Can I? No, not really. You're kind of locked in. So
it is a good application though, and there are a few things that are just like the developer is only going to put it on FlatHub. Thank goodness they chose FlatHub though, because if it was Snaps, like nobody had ever used their application. Sorry, Snaps guys. Nobody uses Snaps unless you're not like it's just like even the Ubuntu guys are like, nope, don't like Snaps. All right, so my next one here is very nerdy. Display manager or no display manager?
Yeah, I use LightDM for my display manager. I know that it's not the only game in town. I've tried the Lie console manager before. And that's incredibly nerdy, the Lie console manager. And it's getting better, actually. It's not like it's one of those projects that has gone by the wayside. But for the most part, LightDM does exactly what I need it to do. And yeah, I just roll with that.
All right. I don't know if you guys are getting audio feedback in the stream or not, but my internet might be messing up
I
again. So
just saw
just
like some type of flux, but okay.
yeah, some weird. It seems to be back now. All right. So for me, I'm by necessity no display manager at the moment because SDDM just completely stopped working, and switching just didn't really it just didn't really seem like something I wanted to do. So right now I have it set up so I just log directly into Hyperland. Like it feels very weird to me because for years I'm exactly like you do. Like I want a display manager. I want to type in my password, at least pretend like my computer's secure. Auto login seems just like really weird. But yeah,
Your password is Matt, so yeah, it's super secure.
It is not. It just happens to be TLC. Okay. All right. It's a super secure password.
I know.
DT told me so.
Yeah.
Okay. And this next one I wrote down before we talked earlier, but I'm going to say it anyways. GNOME versus KDE versus Cinnamon versus Window Manager. We all know the answer is Window Manager, right? I mean,
for me, yeah. I mean,
all right.
I'm not gonna like. I'm not going to beat up anybody that's like, oh yeah, you should, it's KDE is the only way to go. No, I don't care what you do. I mean, this is free. It's our choices. So, yeah.
So I know that you're not a desktop environment guy, but if you say, for example, your wife or your kid or whatever you wanted to put on Linux, and you're not going to give them a window manager to do, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Where would you put them on? KDE, GNOME, Cinnamon?
So this is actually a real world problem that I have been dealing with, even though it hasn't come to fruition. That machine over there for my wife has GNOME on it. And I tried KDE, I tried Cinnamon, and she could use any of those things, really. I just thought that she would enjoy GNOME more than the other ones because it's slightly different than what she has been using for a really long time. She's a Windows user. Okay. If it's me you're talking about, I'm going to go XFCE. That's just my personal, and granted, I would be stuck obviously on X11 until soonish when they have some type of Wayland port. And if that is the case, then that makes me very happy because I've always had this like love for XFCE that that I can't get over.
And we all know why. It's the Debian of desktop environments. It doesn't get updated very often. It's very stable, very low energy in terms of resources and stuff like that. Yeah, makes sense, right? So if I had to answer that question, I don't know what I would answer. Because GNOME, if I'm going to if say, for example, my mom decided she was going to finally switch to Linux, which is, by the way, never going to happen. GNOME would just be confusing because there's no icons by default. You had to press the super key in order to get the icons. But I mean, you could change that, of course, but out of the box, that's the way that is. KDE, I can just imagine putting KDE on a laptop and then handing it to my mother, who's in her 80s. And she opens up the settings application and is just completely lost. It's just randomly pressing buttons or something like that. This just sounds horrible. So I think I would probably go Cinnamon if I were to do this for a family member, just because it's Windows-like, has more options than GNOME, but still kind of goes along with the paradigm of what people usually use. So I think Cinnamon would be the way I'd go.
It's not a bad choice. I mean, none of them are bad choices. I don't think.
Yeah,
I think it's what you just said was spot on though. If you're coming from the Windows environment, you can't go wrong with Cinnamon. You just can't. So.
I can't believe we just did like 5 minutes on GNOME versus KDE.
I know.
Okay. All right.
What the hell's wrong with this?
I know. The answer is neither. It's pronounced Window Manager. All right. So the next one I have is I don't know that we'll really have a preference, but I wrote down Wi-Fi versus Ethernet. Which do you prefer?
Oh yeah, I'm always wired. So yeah, I'm always wired with and I've got cables running freaking everywhere. So yeah, the only thing that's actually hooked up to Wi-Fi is this stupid thing right here, this freaking phone. It's the only thing that's actually, and all my all of my, I've got Apple TV 4Ks on two televisions, both of them wired. I've got my Home Assistant green, which is wired. Actually, that's not true because a lot of the smart stuff is wireless. Obviously, you can't get around with that, but you get the idea. Wired.
So I'm very much a mix. So the funny story is when I first started my home lab, didn't have the ability to run an Ethernet cable far enough to hook it up to. So what I did was I took one of my Google Home Wi-Fi things, hooked it up right next to it, and hooked it up hard through a cord to the Wi-Fi. So it was running off Wi-Fi for the longest time, which is whenever I told people, they looked at me like, the that's just the dumbest thing. But since then, I've upgraded the setup a little bit. So I do have I have this computer and the home lab and the file server all hooked up via Ethernet. But I suppose I have the Mac hooked up via the cord too. But everything out in the living room, like the two other laptops for the rest of the family, are wireless only. The Google TV that we use for everything is wireless, and obviously the phones are wireless. So I'm kind of a mix. I would love to have whole home like wired Ethernet into the walls and stuff like that. It's just never ever going to happen. It's just there's too much going on in these walls that I would never get to that point.
I'm almost embarrassed to say I have 6 gigabit switches throughout the house.
I have 2. I have one over there, and I have one down here in the little pouch underneath my desk that splits things off. So I have 2. If I had to spot my biggest weakness when it comes to computing, it's by far networking. Like I can make my network work, but it's shaky. If something goes wrong with it, my only response to it is to turn it off and turn it back on again. If that don't work, I'm lost. You know what I mean? So I think that's my biggest blind spot when it comes to like the home lab stuff. I'm just still scratching the surface when it comes to learning about that kind of stuff, and I'm not at all confident in my ability to fix anything when it comes to networking. So. All right. So the next 2 are versus ones, and these are my last 2. Then we can stop because we're running up on an hour. So what productivity tools do you use on a daily basis that you couldn't live without, that make your perfect setup more perfect?
So I think we talked about I have to have a browser. That's my main tool actually, is a browser. I use Genie as a text editor. Do I have to use it? No, I choose to use it. More so, I would love to be able to say I'm a NeoVim user. I am not. I have a NeoVim setup that I'm incredibly proud of, but overall, I need Genie, and I actually have not. I would go one step further and say there are certain plugins that I need for Genie to make my workflow even better. Like for example, I like the Git. It's not called Git Change Bar. That's what it's called. Git Change Bar plugin, and I have to have the Tree browser plugin. Beyond that, I would say, I could probably do with a lot of this stuff. I could do without a lot of this stuff. Although a lot of the other things I use, like the Markdown previewer and things like that, are really cool. Do I have to? No, not necessarily. So it's those 2 things. I have to have a browser, have to have Genie for my workflow. And then beyond that, yes, I have to have Audacity for the pod, and I have to have OBS for content creation, and Discord is, whatever. But no, I don't actually have to have too many things in order for me to get my work done. But with the browser too comes like plugins. I have to have my Proton or a password manager like Proton Pass. I have to have a way to have cloud-based bookmarks. I think that's an important thing at least for me. Right now I'm using Link Warden. I know Matt's using LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are important things for me and for my workflow. I'm trying to think of anything else. Not necessarily. I mean, like I said before, you've got you have this intelligent workspace thing that that works for you, but within the context of all these workspaces, I don't necessarily have to have a whole lot. I just need like those 4 things, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So my probably number one thing is the browser. I use Vivaldi. I have tried other browsers, but that's where I spend like 95% of my time.
I'm sorry, I forgot one more thing. I have
But
to have a terminal.
yeah.
It's like I have to have a terminal, and my terminal of choice is WesTerm, and I've been working on my Lua config for WesTerm like nonstop for the last several months. In fact, I actually uploaded a new WesTerm.lua file for my config today because I wanted to change a couple of the keybinds. But yeah, Lua and sorry, WesTerm is phenomenal for me at least.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, but mine's Kitty. So,
Yeah.
all right. So Vivaldi, and like you, I have a whole bunch of extensions that I have to have. Proton Pass. I have one called Language Tool, which I use like the crap out of. Like I pay for this thing. It's like $60 a year or whatever. It works with my job. It saves me so much time. Just taking the stupid like the stupid stuff out of the editing process for the stuff that I edit, just like random misspellings and random grammar stuff, that stuff that a computer can catch and stuff like that. So that gets run through there before I go through and read it and catch the stuff that it can't catch. So language tools when I can't do, I use LinkedIn all the time to save stuff. Like I have just like page after page of stuff that I've saved. And that you remember, Drew, when you first started doing the podcast with me, I was a tab hoarder.
Yes.
And we'd sit here and say, well, like, Matt has 300 tabs open. No longer. I have 10 right now.
Oh, nice.
And like, one of them is the live streaming thing. One of them is the Jitsi thing. One of them is the show notes. So those 3 are going to go away. So I'm not a tab hoarder anymore, and that's because of LinkedIn. When I come across something that I'm going to save, I no longer just pour it in a tab and leave it there for the next 2 years. I put it into LinkedIn and probably never see it again, but it's still there in case I ever want to see it. So it's great. So that's the stuff in the browser. I also have to have Audacity and OBS as well for recording videos and content creation kind of stuff. My other thing is and this pains me to say, but Emacs has become an essential part of my workflow.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't believe this. All right.
I know. So I have a hat over there behind me. I'm actually looking at it right now. It says I love Vim. I feel like I'm cheating on it a little bit, but I have put so much effort into perfecting my Emacs config. Now, granted, it's mostly to make it work like Vim. There are certain things, it's just kind of entrenched itself into my workflow so much that it's going to be hard to go back to Vim. I don't think that is impossible, and I'd probably be just as happy after putting a whole bunch more effort into my Lua and Vim config. But as of right now, I've put so much work into the Emacs stuff that it just works so very well. Now, that has nothing to do with org mode. I still haven't touched org mode. I still have no plans to touch org mode because I think it's just stupid. Why learn another language basically to just translate it into Markdown when I can just write into Markdown to begin with? So it doesn't make any sense to me. But other than that, yeah, Emacs has definitely been. It's become essential to everything. Like I have it in scripts. I have a whole bunch of. I've installed some AI stuff into it. I've created it so that it will change themes when I want it to change themes. I have language tool actually inside of it now, so that I can use Emacs to do a whole bunch of editing and stuff. So, yeah, Emacs is a thing. Kitty for the terminal, and I would also say Rofi. I know Rofi is not really a productivity tool, but I use that thing for so many scripts right now that if I didn't have something like it, or DD menu or something like that, I would feel lost. Like I don't know what I would use instead. Like none of the alternatives. D-menu and Rofi are kind of like on even level, but everything else that kind of mimics it are just subpar. So yeah, Rofi is definitely one that I would.
Rofi's so good.
Yeah,
it's so good.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else like that I need. I don't consider Discord something that I have to have. Like I like my Discord server, and I like everybody. I have a lot of friends in my Discord server. But if I didn't have Discord, I'd find other ways to connect with a lot of those people. If we all moved, like if we had to move to Matrix, I'd probably stay in touch with a lot of people that were from Discord or whatever. I would like someone to go back through and count how many or whatevers I had in that last sentence. So it was a lot. It was a lot. I just noticed that like I did a whole bunch of or whatevers. So I think that means that we're done. So, Drew, is there anything else in terms of the perfect setup that you want to talk about before we move on to the Nuggies?
No, I think we're good.
I think we covered the vast majority. So, but I think our final word has to be this: is that Drew's setup and my setup, despite their similarities, are perfect for us and not the other
Yep.
person. So, and it's not a like something you can just create. Like eventually, you're going to come up with something that you like, but it's going to take time and iteration to get there. Whether that's on the software side or the hardware side, and I know people who have $100,000 worth of tech around them, and that's the perfect setup. I know people who've spent, $400 on eBay, and that's their perfect setup. So it's not about money. It's not about it's more about this is going to sound sappy, but the love and effort that you put into it along the way. It's just, that's, and you can't let somebody else say what your perfect setup is, but Window Manager is still the only answer.
Well, what's funny is there is okay. So I'm not a gamer, and I think that you're kind of like a gamer light,
Adjacent, yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, what you have for your setup is really, really personal. And you will always try, especially us Linux tinkerers, are very specific in what helps us get something done, because we'll work at it for hours and hours for this much addition to our workflow. It's like I spent 4 hours to get an extra 1% out of this thing, and you're happy to do it. You're so happy to do it. To me, my workflow is about cognitive load elimination. I want to know, I don't want to think, I just want it to do. So cognitive load elimination is what I'm going for here.
It's very catchy. You should put it on a t-shirt.
It's gonna be on.
It's gonna, yeah. Okay, so I've created hats. Cognitive is gonna take a long time to get. Just saying. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to our Nuggies of the week real quick. The Nuggies is our last part of the show that we put in every week. Basically, these are things that we like to recommend. They can be apps, they can be tips, they can be picks, they can be things that we've created. Basically, they can be anything. We call them Nuggies because I have friends who like to troll me, and I hate that word. So. Nuggies of the week. Drew, your Nuggie, please.
So I'm going to give you credit here, Matt, where credit is due, because one of the things that you have on your GitLab is a Gitter script, Gitter. Okay. And I have been trying to get away from doing, like, actually having the GitHub desktop that I used to just automatically install. It's very, very good. It is open source. It's on GitHub. It's not the one that GitHub actually created, because they don't do that anymore. It's this one guy that actually is doing a GitHub desktop. But I wanted just to use the terminal. I'm in the terminal all the time. So Matt's Gitter script, I've modified it to myself. I just call it GitUp. And but to give him credit, I wanted to say I kind of started with the idea of what he had in that one bash script to add, then to commit the message, and then to git push. So all of those things I have in a different script now, but it is his concept. So it is my GitUp script is my Nuggie of the week, which I am loving these days.
Yeah, and once you have that thing, and you just use it all the time.
Yep.
I mean, probably since I switched to NixOS and Emacs, and I started doing more blogging on my websites, I've been using that thing probably like 10 or 12 times a day, like across everything. It's crazy. Like you know that activity map you get on GitHub or GitLab where it shows how many things like that. Like in July, before July, hardly anything. Like I'd have like 2 or 3 commits every other day. Since then, almost pure white. Like it just it's like constant updates, and I use Gitter for all that stuff, and it's just it's really good stuff. So all right, I mentioned it mostly at the earlier, so I don't need to talk about too much. My Nuggie is Sync Thing. If you have the need of moving files from one place to another, and you want to kind of have it automated, so you want to have a file in this place and a file in that place, and you want them to always be in sync, Sync Thing is the best way to do it. It's just, I mean, bar the weird network thing earlier, it works so phenomenally well. It has a web UI that you get into. There's clients for Android and iOS, I believe, and you can just sync things all over the place, and you can do multiple folders. In the past, I've used it for larger files, and that does tend to use a lot of resources, so just be careful about that. But for small things, especially like pictures or for, notes, which is what I'm using it for, I haven't come across anything that is as good at making sure that I have the same files in a folder across multiple devices, and it's easy to set up. Now, if you're setting, I will set just a pro tip: if you're going to set it up on a remote server or on a server that's headless, you will need to create an SSH tunnel in order to get in there, in order to get to the web UI. So I had to figure that out before I could set it up on my headless server. So you create an SSH tunnel with a certain port, then you can go to localhost in that port in order to do it on your host PC. So just a pro tip there. So SyncThing is my Nuggie of the week. It's fantastic. All right, so I think, Mr. Drew, that is it for us on this one. So if you want to get in contact with us, the best way to do so is via email. The email address is email@thelinuxcast.org. There you can email me, and if you want to get in contact with any of the boys, you can just address it to them and I'll forward it on to them. If you want to find all of the rest of our contact information, the best way to do so is head on over to the website, which has been recently upgraded to a lot of awesome things. So all of the previous episodes are there, a whole bunch of blog posts are there, but also the contact information is there. That's linuxcast.org/contact. There you'll find stuff like Mastodon and Discord and Drew's website and Nate's website, and Tyler's stuff is still over there. So if you need to get in contact with us and you don't want to email, that's the best place to do it. Drew is on YouTube. He is Just a Guy Linux, because he is in fact just a guy. That's the tagline, right? So he talks about window managers and scripting and obviously Debian and all sorts of stuff there. Yeah, hey, you know what? Nice hat. It's great. It's seriously, man, merch store. I'm just telling you. All right. Anyways, head on over there. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. All of his stuff is really good, so make sure you catch all that stuff. And I believe, I probably should say this, we do a live recording of this very podcast every Tuesday at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Usually, we have a fairly good record of not horrible things happening. Recently, that record has been a little tarnished, but shit happens. But usually around 8:20 we get around to actually podcasting, because Matt's always late. But there you go, 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time live. If you can't watch live, we do post the edited version, which is basically just the same thing but without the pre-show and without all of Matt's ums. And Nate edits that for us. That's posted on Saturdays on the YouTube channel and on every podcatcher that you can imagine, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, it's there. If you do listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever, and your app allows you to leave reviews, if you could leave us a review, we'd really appreciate it. It'd really help us out, because we have goals of being famous one day. So, and the only way we get to be famous is if you guys leave reviews. And if you guys don't leave a review, we can't be famous, and that would make us sad. So don't make us sad. Leave us a review. It really helps us out. So the lug. We do 2 lugs a month, an early one, a late one. If you want that information, join the Discord server. That's all the stuff is there. So I think that's it. So we'll see you guys next Tuesday. We'll see ya.